I even stopped eating my popcorn because it was like too much what I was experiencing in that moment at the theater. So thank you for this.
19 states have seceded.
The United States Army ramps up activity.
The White House issued warnings to the Western forces as well as the Florida Alliance.
The three-term president assures the uprising will be dealt with swiftly.
Let me know if you want to try anything on.
Are you guys aware there's like a pretty huge civil war going on all across America?
We just try to stay out. With what we see on the news, seems like it's for the best.
You're wonderful at making dystopian stories not too far from reality. In 2014, 10 years ago, we saw a machine turn into a human, and now you deliver us a story of a human turning into a machine, which is kind of what happens to Jesse. So how did you manage to write and capture this idea of how much a person can endure before they lose their humanity?
Oh, well, I guess I approach it something like this, is that we need journalists, and journalists do a very important function for everybody. And sometimes journalists show huge physical courage and they put themselves in danger. And obviously, particularly war correspondents and war photographers, but actually many journalists have to put themselves in danger to do their job. And really, I wanted to show something which was that the individual journalist may pay a price for that. It's to do with the nature of the sacrifice they sometimes have to make, which is not just being shot or being killed, but being affected sort of psychologically and internally.
Citizens of America, the so-called Western forces of Texas and California have suffered a very great defeat at the hands of the United States military.
Mr. President, do you regret the use of airstrikes against American citizens?
I was amazed when I learned that this film was made with just $50 million. That nowadays, it's difficult to believe that a picture this big is done with less than $100 million even. I do believe that it's not about the budget, but it's about knowing how to use it. So I want to know, how did you accomplish this great big scenes where we can see great monuments being torn down and all of these practical effects more than anything that you have in this picture?
Well, what I'd say is, first of all, it's not just me. It's a large group of people. I'm just one of them. But with that group of people, our training in a way is working in independent movies. We learned our filmmaking, making much, much cheaper movies. And so for us, if we get given that much money, it feels like a huge opportunity. And we take the practices and the principles of independent movies into that higher budget. And honestly, what that really means in the end is that the money goes further. And some of that is just simple stuff like we shoot more quickly. We have less days in the shooting schedule. We have some big sequences, but there's not as many of them as you would find in like a Marvel movie. But so it gives the film a sense of scale, but it's like slightly misleading. I think I learned that a long time ago, but I remember using it. I made a film about 10 years ago called Ex-Machina about, you mentioned it, about, and that was $14 million, but it had a piece of visual effects in it that could kind of walk out of our small movie and walk into a big movie like Star Wars or a Marvel movie, and like nobody would notice. Nobody would think, what's that cheap bit of visual effects doing here? And what we did was we kind of channeled a lot of our resources into doing that to the same level as a big movie. And so we kind of did the same thing on Civil War. So we would have some big sequences with tanks and helicopters and troops and stuff blowing up. But we actually don't do it very often. You know, that's the trick.
We're moving to DC today.
We need to go down there.
They shoot journalists on sight in the Capitol. Every instinct in me says this is death. Bloody.
Every time I survived the war zone, I thought I was sending a warning home. Don't do this.
But here we are.
And here's when I talk about the great cast that you got for this movie. Kirsten, Kaylee, Wagner, Stephen, they were perfect. What made you decide they have to be in this project, or did you had any of them in mind before you start doing it?
Well, Stephen and Kaylee I'd worked with before, and I knew them as actors, and I knew what they were like on set, and I knew what they would bring. And in fact, when I was writing it, I was imagining those guys doing those two parts. So that was easy. Kirsten, I'd been aware of her work for a long, long time because she started as a child actor. She's one of the few child actors who then has a successful career as an adult actor. And so I was very aware of Kirsten, and I liked, she has a kind of soulfulness that felt right for this character. And Wagner, I'd met him, we had a meeting a few years ago, and I'd watched him in this TV show called Narcos, and I remembered when I met him what kind of guy he was, and then I saw Narcos and I could see the difference. And in a way, it was like a demonstration of his acting ability.
Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very kind.
Western forces will reach the White House on July 4th.
Oh my God.
Get in the car! Get in the car!
You're gonna hang back.
I'm not hanging back.
One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America.